Hello, this is Rashad from Robotic Automata, and we will be solving a little programming challenge. And let me go and open up a terminal to show y'all exactly what we're going to be doing. Let me make it bigger. So the goals of this video is to solve a little programming problem and to do it live, so you can see, if I come into any bugs or something like that, how I would go about solving it, so that you can do a similar thing if you're in that situation. If you're experienced at solving these kind of things, I hope you can see something new, a new way of doing things that maybe you don't normally do things, like the way I like to use Vim in the terminal and all that kind of stuff. And if you are, if you're experienced, and if you're new, hopefully I can explain things well enough that you can pick something up from this. So let's say, what are our goals? Solve Fizz. So if you're not familiar with what Fizz is, it's a sample interview kind of programming problem. It's very short and easy, so to speak. It just verifies you have basic understanding of programming, and the problem goes as follows. Write a program that takes a number as input, and if it is divisible by 3, return Fizz. By 5, return Buzz. By both, essentially by 15, Fizz Buzz. Else, meaning it's not divisible by any of that stuff, just return nothing essentially. So let's say return empty string. It's going to be some variation of that. So let's say we wanted to solve that problem. In our case, let's say we want to solve it with Python. So solve with Python. So Python is a programming language, and it's very simple. I think it's a really good language to use for this particular problem. And let's say in addition to that, maybe we want to demonstrate GitHub skills or Git skills, and also I want y'all to be able to access this solution. So let's set this up in a GitHub repository. Set up a GitHub repository. That'll be our next goal. So essentially we're going to do this before we solve with Python, but this is all working towards the solution. So let me open up a browser and go to GitHub. So the easiest way that I would like to set up GitHub repository is, create a repo from my GitHub account on the UI. So that is on the web. That's how I prefer to do it. Clone locally. So in your case, if you don't have a GitHub account, you might want to make one. That's assuming you want to host your solution on GitHub. Of course, you have the option to host it privately, so it shouldn't be an issue. So let's just call this Python Programming Challenges. So that recommendation was there because I did try this out previously just to see if everything works out correctly. And I don't need any git ignore or readme or license right now, so we can just create that. And I do have SSH set up, so I can just clone like that. So I'll copy this link and then hit the clone option. So let me open up a new tab in the terminal. Git clone, paste the link we got, and in my case, because I'm using multiple SSH keys, let me specify which one I would like to use. Automata. So we have cloned an empty repository, so let's go into the empty repository. And there is nothing here. What is that hashtag? Oops. So I'm just doing git status to see what's here. Nothing to commit. They want us to add something. Okay. So first, let us go back to what our goals are. So to solve a Python problem, let's create a file. Fizz _ buzz.py with method, or I believe in Python it's called functions if I remember correctly. fizz underscore buzz, which takes some parameter, something along those lines, and it will do what we desire. So so I'm back on the other terminal, vim fizz underscore buzz.py. And I also do have Python, I believe Python 3 on my computer, so that's something else you'd want to install if you do not have it. So first I just want to verify that my stuff is set up correctly. So I'm just going to verify if I can print hello. Okay, I did print hello, great. So now let's go ahead and begin implementing our solution to this little problem. So I will be using doc testing. This is kind of like a test-driven development where you specify your tests before you write your function, and then if your function works correctly, then your test will pass. In addition to that, this is just documenting what the code is supposed to do before we do it. That way, if anybody uses our function, they'll understand what is the point of this little function. Of course, FizzBuzz is pretty well known, so a lot of people might understand what we're trying to do, but still, not you never know, somebody might be out of the loop. So if n is divisible by 3, return fizz. Else, if n is divisible by 5, return buzz. And I'm using single quotes now because with the doc testing and the way it returns, it's going to return with single quotes, and it's going to be convenient to specify it that way. If it's divisible, if n divisible by both, essentially 15, return buzz, fizz buzz. Else, if it is divisible by none, return nothing. Okay, now comes our doc testing. So our doc testing will look something like, okay, we're gonna call fizz buzz on, say, a number, let's say 6. And we expect it to return fizz. Now that is not the full test, but personally it's something enough that we can run it and verify if things are working as we expect it to work. So let's say we do return fizz, this test should pass. So essentially I'm just going to verify if our doc testing is working as intended. So py test, and it's like something include modules or something like that. Let's see if I have it. Doc test modules fizzbuzz.py, perfect. And it passed, great. So let's go ahead and go back there. So essentially what this is saying is fizzbuzz will always return fizz. So it doesn't really matter what we give it, 6, 7, it doesn't matter. So although we did verify that our Python doc testing is working, we did not actually implement fizzbuzz. So let's go ahead and further implement fizzbuzz. Now just to make things simple, let's just go ahead and add a couple more test cases. Fizzbuzz of maybe 20, and that should be buzz. Oops. Fizzbuzz of, I don't know, 45. Let's do 75. I think 75 is divisible by 15. Is it? I don't know. Let's just do 45. Okay. And then fizzbuzz of something that is not. So maybe 8. Boom. And so what this does for us is it at the top tells us what this function is supposed to do. So if you're reading this code, you would say, okay, what is fizzbuzz? Okay, this is what fizzbuzz is. But even then, sometimes the comments here might not be so clear. So this tells us very clearly, okay, if we take an input of 6, we'll get fizz, 20 buzz, fizzbuzz for 45. For 8, we get empty string. So not only does this specify or clarify exactly what fizzbuzz does, but this documentation is alive in the sense that, you know, if we set up some sort of pipeline to run our PyTests before we're allowed to use this code, it'll say, hey, this code that you've implemented does not adhere to the tests you've written, because these tests will fail because we didn't implement any of that functionality. So let's just look at the output as an example. So it tells us, you know, what fizzbuzz is supposed to do. Fizzbuzz of 6, oops. Fizzbuzz of 6 returns fizz. Fizzbuzz of 20, we expected to get buzz, but instead we got fizz. So let's go back and correct our little program. So now instead of just return fizz, what we will want is something like, result equals that empty string if, 0 equals n percent 15. Result equals fizz underscore buzz. So what did I do there? I'm essentially saying n percent 15. That's just mod. Mod means, you know, the number we're getting divisible by 15. What's the remainder? If the remainder is 0, then that means it is divisible by 15 and result equals fizz buzz. Great. Why I would put 0 at the front, if that looks confusing, is just a way of saying what we know. We know the number 0 is on the left, and what we don't know is on the right. So essentially it's like, this is our expected value, and this is our actual value. And yeah, you just say what you know first, because we don't know what n percent 15 will be. That's just a little preference that I have that I learned and I like. So else if, or in Python case use elif, 0 equals n percent, this time we can do 5, just to keep the order in sequence. By order I mean going downwards, 15, 5, 3. Result equals buzz. Else 0, else if 0 equals n percent 3. Result equals fizz. And then we will return, not fizz, but result. And now I believe the test should be passing. So now we want to do something like py test again. And the test passed, great. So now if we were going to continue with making it visible, a little closing of shopkeeping, how to make it visible on GitHub. So we would do something like, maybe let me check out a different branch. So git checkout -b. Let's call this testing. Great. Git status. So we don't really care about what's in our PyCatch. So we can go to vim.git ignore _py cache is what I think I said. But I might have to go back. Nope, there was no underscore in between. So git ignore is essentially a file that when you put stuff in there, it will not track it when we do git status. So now instead of saying PyCatch here, it's showing that we did add something to git ignore, and we did add something to fizzbuzz.py. Now we can say something like git add dot git ignore, or that's a little shortcut that I have. So let me just type it out specifically for y'all. Git add dot git ignore, git add fizz buzz. And now if we do git status, it'll say both of those are, being tracked and added. And now we can go ahead and commit that. Git commit -n fizz underscore buzz solution working. Great. And I believe it's going to give us a recommendation to set our upstream. That's fine. When we try to push it, I mean. So when we go ahead and do this and push, when we go back to github.com, we should be able to do a pull request, but I'm not sure because oh, okay, I was gonna say I'm not sure because of the branching. So let's say you would do something like pull request, new pull request. Let's make the base branch, now we have to add a main branch. Let me go back. So right now we're essentially just doing shopkeeping. So let's say if we go to our goals, so solve with Python, we did solve with Python. Now let's say upload to GitHub. Oops. Git checkout main. Let me check what branches I have. We only have testing. Oh, this is annoying. I should have pushed main earlier. Well, for now, I think that is sufficient. I will have to specify that main is my main branch and all that stuff. I went out of order. But anyways, I don't want to hold y'all for too long. Let's go back to here. We can get rid of this step. I will take care of that on my own. So essentially, what's left for you? Later I would like to solve, if you choose to subscribe or continue watching, a little, let's say up next, a Java problem, maybe around solving primes, API test automation, and UI test automation. I also believe I would like to, include a little contact form if you want to contact me. And a lot of this stuff is the kind of stuff you kind of will have to demonstrate in an interview. So I think I will maybe prepare a little interview guidelines documentation that you can request if you like. And those are some of the links you can look out for in the description and things of that nature. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any comments about, what could be better, or if you learned something, any tips and tricks, I do appreciate that. Thank you.